Yeah, now we're live. Now I can see myself too. Um, Let me know in the comments if you can hear me. First time streaming, no idea how it works. That's nice. Um, who's in the house tonight? I see what you did there, George. How are you doing? Unfortunately, I'm not a professional streamer, so I don't have two screens at the same time. So I had to um, put my phone on the table to see myself. Um, we're not many, but we're lively. That's the best thing. So we'll have a cozy atmosphere. Not that many people, but we'll have a better chat for that. Um, so yeah, um, originally I thought we could listen to the album together, and in the process I would explain all the references, all the influences, and such, and I could also explain the story a little bit. So I wanted to ask you in the beginning, would you like to have the lyrics in front of you when listening? And the second question, would you like to listen to the first four tracks um, straight and only then pause, or pause after every track? Because the first three are the singles, so um, yeah. What do you think? George says, I think we can listen to the first four straight, then pause it after each. Um, yeah, let's do it this way then. Do you need lyrics in front of you, or can you open them on your laptop or PC or phone? George has them open. Nice. Then I guess let's start listening. And the first one is In the Shade of the Crown. Can you hear the sound from my laptop? Yeah, that's good. All right. So as promised, here we will make our first pause because the first three songs were the singles, and after that there are all new songs. And there was a question from um, I lost it in the chat. Wait a second, I'm a bit lost. Here, ninth thread. Question from ninth thread. What are our favorite bands? And we actually have, I don't know, we actually have quite a lot of bands that we really love, and from a very vast spectrum of genres, from symphonic extreme stuff to progressive metal and to non-metal stuff. But the reason why we've chosen On Whom the Soul Shall Fall, Descent, and Enigma in Flames as singles is not only because they are the first three songs of the album, which is also one of the reasons, but not the main one, but also because each of those songs represents a different. Um, each of those songs was influenced by different bands. For example, On Whom the Soul Shall Fall was very influenced by Kara Hangren, especially Lamendam. Then Descent was more Flesh God Apocalypse kind of stuff, and Enigma in Flames was heavily inspired by Septic Flesh. And those three are one of our favorite bands. So um, yeah, um, and yeah, In the Shade of the Crown is an intro, but I think it was much more progressive than the intro of Nightmare in Eden, and it was more inspired by the atmosphere of Hans Zimmer's soundtracks for Sherlock Holmes. Again, and I think I've told it before on the previous live streams, but Enigma in Flames was actually born after me listening to Hans Zimmer's soundtracks for Sherlock Holmes again. I was really inspired by this atmosphere, and I just wanted to transfer it into metal. So then I wrote the intro, then somehow it turned into septic flashy kind of stuff. And then I sent the song to Stefan, and he added the choirs, the tubular bells somewhere in the beginning of the song, and guitars in the same part. So yeah, that's how Enigma in Flames was born. Um, that explains why I like Descent the most. Love me some Flesh God Apocalypse. Yeah, it was like Descent was really Flash God Apocalypse inspired, from the guitar riffs to the orchestrations. Like the way Descent was written was Stefan wrote um, the main part of the music in Descent, like mostly everything there, the guitars and the organ, and then I've written all the orchestrations for the track. Yeah, and then together, as with every track of the album, we wrote the lyrics and the vocals. Septic Flesh and Karahangren, hell yeah. Yeah, those are two great bands, and I love every album by by those two. With Septic Flesh, it's a bit weird because I'm not a huge fan of their first albums, like first three ones, I believe. But then after that, like they just progressed with every album till the most recent one, and I can't wait for their new record to come out next year. Um, Now, when you say it, I really heard some Septic influence, mainly Prometheus and Dogma. Actually, that's true. Yeah, it was most like I believe I even thought about Dogma when I was writing Enigma in Flames. So you got it right. Yeah, and from the story, mm, these songs are the introductory ones. On Whom the Sword Shall Fall introduces the main character, which is the anti-hero Seth, who is also an assassin who is being paid by some royal, some royals or some noblemen to do their dark deeds when they're not satisfied with someone in the court or someone else. And Lord Regent went, like in the first song, On Whom the Sword Shall Fall, Lord Regent went to visit Seth to give him a new mission, and this mission was to murder some person. He didn't explain it, but he paid a lot, so Seth decided to do it. And in Descent, we see that Seth was on his mission, and he came to the house of this person, and he found out that he is actually connected to dark magic in a way. Um, and when he successfully murdered him, um, he grabbed the books that he found on the table, and it's an important part. It will be explained a bit more in the next songs. And he escaped the house, and after that, um, the cultist burned down the house to get rid of the evidence, but he didn't get rid of the books that Seth grabbed. Um, from Communion to Codex Omega, those are the best. Yeah, I agree with you. I would also add Cimmerian Demons because I don't know, I just really like the atmosphere. The mixing is a bit weird on Cimmerian Demons. It's really good, but I feel like it has really a lot of bass in it. I don't know if it makes sense, but I still love it. I really love the songs of Cimmerian Demons, and it's such a pleasure to play them on guitar. I don't know why. Like mostly those are not hard songs, but they're just so melodic and they have a feel to them. Um, yeah. So I guess let's move on. If you don't have any questions for those songs, the next one is House of Orchids.
Foreign in this house of laughter, Seth was following the man by the pitch black chambers, entry into headcap broke he ran. This acquaintance raised some questions, but there was no time to waste. Tormented by his dark impatience, stranger shut the door in haste. So you've got the yes, I show you yes, and answer with a nod. For your life will every truly to kill you, Lord Legion Plus. We're short of time, make your way out. I'm less on our mind and must go to center here, but I didn't know what they should mean. On the war and I ran to you, well it was obvious. Because that's the program for the
And when the body was found, and a feast was inevitably spoiled, and panic and fear was spread as a plague. Poe declared, darkness and decay and the Red Death held illimitable dominion over all.
Thanks, guys. Really appreciate it. There was also a comment about Rotting Christ. Just wanted to comment on that. Ninth Thread says Rotting Christ called the style Hellenic black metal, but not black metal at all. I kind of agree with that. Like, Rotting Christ, in my opinion, have a very unique sound, and when you hear a Rotting Christ song, you can't really mix them with anything. Like, I don't know a single band that I could mix Rotting Christ with. Like, their sound is very recognizable, in my opinion. Um, and yeah, thanks, guys. I really appreciate that you like the song so much. Um, This one was actually inspired by Clemens Weirs, or Adak, as most people know him, from Kara Hankren, by his solo project, but by the older stuff, like from 2014 maybe, or something like that. He released it on Bandcamp, and yeah, I think only on Bandcamp. I'm not sure about the streaming platforms. And it was originally written only as an orchestral piece, and I didn't even know that I wanted to make it into a song. Um, and It was the first orchestral piece that was completely written for the orchestra by me. And only then I thought about adding some guitars in there, and this is what happened. um, from the storytelling, Seth went to the ball in the House of Orchids, and I forgot to tell you about that. But in Enigma in Flames, he also, except for the books, he also found a letter that was actually addressed to the cultist that he killed, but he took it anyway. And what was written in this letter was it was actually an invitation to the ball, and it was written that this cultist was supposed to find somebody in this on this ball. And Seth was very curious about what was going on, what was this whole dark magic, because he has never seen it before. And yeah, then he went to the ball, found a person who had a wolf mask on him, because it was also a masquerade. Um, and The whole song is actually a big reference to Edgar Allan Poe's Mask of Red Death, because Seth went in there with a red mask on him, as was written in the letter, so that the other cultists could recognize him. And then there was also a band playing some music, and the clock from the black room, like the rooms were um, separated in colors, and the last one was black. And there stood a clock that beamed very loudly when it was midnight. And at midnight, the person in the wolf mask found Seth in the ball, and he led him to to some other room to talk to him about what was bothering him, what the problem was. And There he told him that Lord Regent was actually planning to kill this cultist. Like, the person was thinking that Seth was this cultist named Sir Warren. The cultist told him that Lord Regent was planning to kill Sir Warren in order to create chaos between the Raven cult and the monarch, because the Raven cult was protecting the monarch in those times. And Lord Regent wanted the monarch to be dead, and he wanted him to get more power. And he decided to do it this way, to kill a cultist, so that the other cultists think that it was Monarch's idea, and then they fight between each other. Typical royal intrigues. And Then he told him that he should hide in Blackwood. And we will find out more about Blackwood a bit later on. And then when he wanted to say his goodbyes, the cultist said a phrase, "Omne suna manet nox," which is actually this is a phrase that the cultists use as goodbyes, and Seth didn't understand it. And this is how the cultists realized that Seth is actually not so Warren, and in order to escape, Seth had to kill him, and then he escaped through the window. Um, so yeah, if you don't have any questions, we'll go on to the fateful encounter. Really should use passwords at the beginning of the conversation. Yeah, that's true. That's true. The thing was, they didn't expect Lord Regent to act that quickly, and that's why they have sent the letter to the cultist. And they didn't know that Seth would be so curious about that, and will actually try something to find out what was happening there. They expected a regular assassin who would just complete his mission and then go back with good news for the regent and disappear after that. But Seth was a professional, and he had a knight trained for that, and he just saw that something was wrong, and he decided to investigate. Um, yeah, the red mask was password enough, I guess. Yeah, it was more or less a password. Like the only way the cultist would know about this mask was from the letter, and they didn't expect Seth to get this letter. And yeah, I guess that was their mistake. So I guess let's continue to Fateful Encounter, and if you have any questions along the way, just write them in the chat and I will answer them in the next pause. Oops.
was now standing in front of our hero's door. Sat now wakes, stood up to greet unexpected guests. They walked aside, stepping on tiles of the creaky floor. Sat on two dusty chairs, both visibly distressed. Region was informed by Seth about completed tasks. You heard about what happened at the ball that night. Even before Seth answered, his gaze fell on the mask. Scholars, blood on Cecily, called by Lord seeking sight.
I think I actually also listened only to the Gateways to Annihilation album. Still have to check those out. There was a question about um, the instruments used in the production, guitar brands, strings, and effects. Um, I can mostly speak for myself because I'm not entirely sure about everything that Stefan used, but I used the Jackson, some Jackson Randy Rhodes. I'm not entirely sure about the exact model now. The bass is Marcus Miller, and I also used this keyboard. It's a small one. It's a Korg micro key. Only has three octaves, but when you're writing orchestra with MIDI, it's actually enough, I think. Still thinking about upgrading though. And for the other stuff, we had the Focusrite sound cards. They're quite cheap, but they're doing a great job. And the DAW is Cubase. So yeah, and the effects were actually all applied by our sound guy. So that's a question to SFS. Live version of this song, how would it sound like? Yeah, that's a good question. I think we should do a live show somehow. Not entirely sure how, but we should do that. Um, I will actually record a couple of playthroughs in a couple of days. I thought about, yeah, I think I won't tell you which songs, but I'll make a couple of playthroughs. Genöden Hacker. Yeah, I love that too. Jackson, great choice. Actually, I've told about that on the last streams on our Instagram, but I bought this Jackson from a friend of mine, and it cost me actually 2 times less than the market price. So I had luck with that. Cubase, the god of all DAWs. Yeah, that's true. That's true. Cubase is just so comfortable to use. I don't know. It has the best interface in my opinion, and just enough functionality to do everything you like, especially for the MIDI recording. It has so many brilliant features that a lot of stuff doesn't have at all. Um, yeah, but I can speak for everything because I haven't used a lot. Yeah. Are drums programmed because they sound so real? Oh, thanks. I'm glad you like it, but they're all programmed. The I can't really say which plugin was used because it was also used by a sound guy, but they're all programmed. Also, which strings are you using? I mm, like on this record, it's actually mixed because before Shadows of Lonehill, we only had basic Cubase stuff, but then before recording Shadows of Lonehill, we actually bought the Sony Vox. I believe it's called orchestral. No, orchestral companion bundle or something like that, and they have the strings, the brass, the keys, percussion, and woodwinds too. And it's actually quite a cheap bundle, but from the sound of it, it's really good. For example, you could hear it in the intro of Enigma in Flames and House of Orchids. So it sounds quite realistic, but it lacks in um, some functions. For example, you can't change the dynamics of the notes with the mod wheel, and yeah, it's not very practical. And that's why later on I bought Sound Iron's, I believe they're called Hyperion strings elements. And I just love this library. It's also not one of the expensive ones, but it's in the mid range, I think. Like, it's not cheap, but it's not expensive at all. And it has everything you need. A lot of articulations, like 10 times more articulations than the Sony Box library, and it has so many options for instrument positioning and for everything else. And I just love this library. And this is how I recorded the intro, for example. Like, everything in the intro was actually recorded with the newer libraries, like with the string one. Then I also bought the Sound Iron Olympus Choir, great choir library. Then a couple of other things were actually free. The one from Project Sam called the Free Orchestra, I believe. And yeah, sorry for the nerding. um, so, have I missed any questions? Uh, which strings I use? I feel so uncultured listening to this. I think I'm just a bit too into orchestral programming. I've been doing it for the last year, and I just find it so fascinating. All the stuff you can do with a programmed orchestra nowadays. Just a very interesting thing for me. Um, I haven't told about the story in this song. Um, Seth was escaping after what he has done in the ball. He was escaping in the back streets, running away from the local police or something like that. And meanwhile, Regent got the news about what happened in the house of the murdered cultist and in the ball, and he got a bit curious about how it could happen. So he decided to visit Seth, and Seth came back to his house. Of course, he was tired because he hasn't slept for days because of this mission and then the events at the ball. So he went straight to bed. He didn't expect any guests, so he left his bloody shirt on him and he left his mask in the room, which was kind of inconsiderate of him. Um, and then came the regent. Um, and he woke Seth up in the middle of the night because he wanted to ask him what actually happened with that mission because he never reported about completing it. So he was wondering if Seth really did it. And when they were talking, the regent recognized, he noticed the blood stains on his sleeve and also the mask, which could only belong to him if he actually went to the ball that night. So Regent started suspecting him. He knew that Seth found out about the cult, and he didn't want him to investigate it. So he left Seth and went to the local gang called pardon, called Lonehill Cleavers, who were infamous, and local folks feared them. They were actually the butchers, like local butchers. And he went to them with a secret mission, and we'll find out about it later. So yeah, if you don't have any questions, we'll move on to Watershed, and I think you should prepare candles for that, because that one will be a chill one. All right, I guess let's move on.
Once
All right. There's a comment about the lack of cowbell in there, and I totally agree. I think our sound guy didn't have enough cowbell in there. um, yeah, what did I miss? I really need to listen to this again after the stream ends. I'm totally for it. You should definitely do it. Nick, you should make an hour-long album next, but no, seriously. Maybe I should. Maybe I should. 1 hour sound, maybe. But actually, like the way you've written it in the first message, an hour-long album is quite relevant for us because we've never had an album that's shorter than 1 hour yet. I believe Nightmare in Eden was 1 hour and 18 minutes, I think, and this one is, let's see, 1 hour and 9 minutes. So this one is a bit shorter than Nightmare in Eden, if you don't take into consideration the Virtues of the Beast bonus track. But yeah, either we're making a normal length album or we're making a 1 hour song. I think you should decide. um, Seems like for a lot of people this one is the favorite so far. I'm really glad to hear that because this one was really controversial in the beginning because of the very soft part in the beginning, and I thought I wasn't sure how people would feel about that, but I'm really glad that you like those that 1 hour song, man. My final decision. We'll do that one day. 1 hour song. I believe there was a band that did that. Steven Wilson did that with the Incident. I believe it's only one song, but split into parts, and I think it was around 1 hour and something. And there was another band. I think there was, how's it called? Sleep or something like that. I think they had 1 hour of a song. Moonsorrow did it. Yeah, I haven't listened to that much of Moonsorrow. Still have to check it out. Yeah, 1 hour song, Bring Insomnium. Insomnium, that's right. That's the. I think I even have a CD somewhere. Uh, how is it called? Winter's Gate, I believe. Winter's Gate. That's right. Um, yeah, we should do it someday. um, so yes, I believe it was George who figured it out in the beginning. It was really heavy influenced in the beginning because both Stefan and I, but mostly Stefan, is a huge fan of Devin Townsend, and that's why the first part was quite Devin influenced, and then it just transformed into something else. A bit more open than that, but we tried to make it more Raventhorn. Mm, Insomnia Makila. I believe they actually haven't they released something recently because I believe I've listened to something by them not so long ago. Um, Summer's Window. Is it the? All right, I got it. Yeah. So story-wise, this track introduces the new characters to the story. Um, the sister. It's Seth's sister, and her name is Irene, and she comes to visit him after a long time of not seeing each other. She came unexpectedly. Seth didn't know that she was coming, and um, he was really happy to meet her because she was the only person in this world that he cared for, and they talked for a bit, exchanged some um, stories, and then Seth asked about his parents, their parents back home, and she told him that they didn't survive the Blue Death, so-called Blue Death. It was um, an illness that was very widespread back in the Victorian era, and they were left alone. And this shook Seth, and they talked a bit more, and then there was this almost ambient part in the middle with the spoken word. Um, Irene went to bed, um, fell asleep, but Seth couldn't keep all those thoughts to himself. He was thinking about how he left his family back there in his city and came to Lonehill in search of fortune, and he wanted to serve for the nobleman. He wanted to have um, to be important in the court, and then he had some weird turn in his life and became an assassin. And he started in this song. He started to regret it because he left all his family behind and started doing the deeds that he was doing, if it makes sense. Um, yeah, and then where the metal part comes in, those were actually the Lone Hill Cleavers that invaded his house, and he started fighting them. He actually killed most of them, but one of them survived, and he stunned Seth. And when he woke up again, he found out that Irene was not there anymore. Lonehill Cleavers took her, and they left him a message that told that the message was actually from the Lord Regent himself, and he told that Seth has to uh, bow down to him now and obey all of his orders and never investigate Raven Cult anymore. And if he does, his sister will die. And this leaves us to the next song, From the Ashes. The Cleavers give me Peaky Blinders vibes. Guys, you are really, really um, attentive, I think, because because so far you've gotten all of the references correctly. The Cleavers was partly inspired by the Cleavers, like not completely, but in a certain way. There was also one source of inspiration, but it's actually from the game Dishonored, and they had this gang. I believe it was called the Bottle String Gang, and just like the way we imagine the cleavers to ourselves is kind of related to that. Um, but yeah, Peaky Blinders inspired us for Lonehill Cleavers a bit. Maybe this will be a bit of a spoiler, but as I have told you on our previous Instagram lives, um, we were thinking about making us another project parallel to Raventhorn, which would be a bit softer than Raventhorn, and we actually thought about calling it Lonehill Cleavers. So um, I strongly recommend Moonsoro too, but only if you can handle Finnish language. I actually find Finnish language quite pretty. I think so, at least. I've heard a couple of folk bands that sing in Finnish, and I actually found it quite nice. But I still have to check out Moonsaro. I tried it before, but I don't know. Wasn't that inspired then, so I should do it again. Um, yeah, I think now we can move on to From the Ashes.
Empty room greeted him with equal blue lost where once lay his ivory, now a sealed letter was impatiently he ripped then a local cloth from inside and a slip that's yet to break his heart.
I see right through you. I know what you have found out now. That you have met my crew about your sister you're in doubt. I will ensure you she's in a safe place right now. Don't investigate the Raven cult if you want to see your sister still alive. No, I will tell you how it will all go down if you obey. You put hand to the plow and to my orders will stay. If you defy me, your sister will have to die. But the only precious thing that you still possess will burn before
So, yeah, as I have written in the chat, I forgot to talk about the title of Watershed. Yeah, that's actually an Opeth reference, but it's not the main reason why we have chosen the title. There are several reasons for that. The first one being that the plot, this part of the story, it's kind of a watershed moment for the story because it introduces the character that changed everything, his sister, because before that it was going pretty straightforward. Seth got himself into some trouble and now he had to deal with the regent, but now they had the third factor to the story, like the third important character, and it was his sister. So it was a kind of a watershed moment for the story. The other reason is that Watershed is actually in the middle of the album. And the third reason is that it's so separated in the parts. Like there is this obvious clean part and the obvious heavy part. So we decided that it would be cool to call it Watershed because it um, changes the parts exactly in the middle of the song. Um, George writes, it's kind of where the deal gets personal. Yeah, that's true. That's true. Before that, it was just like Seth found out about a secret, and Regent knew that he found out about the secret, but nothing more. But now it was a personal affair because in Watershed, the Regent steals his sister um, because he thought that this way he could control Seth. Um, but yeah, sorry, lost the train of thought. Um, yeah, that's where it really gets personal. Is this on Bandcamp? Yeah, since today it is. um, I can actually send you the link after the stream. Yeah. Did I miss any questions? Yeah, the instrument in the background was clarinet, as if I remember correctly. There were a couple of woodwinds and some strings as well. Then the brass. Yeah. Mm, yeah, that was actually really fun to record that spoken word part. Really had to imagine that I am this um, evil, malicious Lord Regent. That was fun. I really like doing spoken word parts, but I think you have already noticed it on this album that we really like spoken word parts. Um, yes, please do. Yeah, I will send the link after the stream. Um, so, from the story, from the ashes, this is the song that introduces the solution for the problem for Seth. Um, in the beginning, he didn't know how to act when his sister was stolen from him. And he was just furious. He started destroying his room, broke into screaming, and then, just by an accident, his glance fell on the books that he stole from the cultist in Enigma in Flames. And he thought that maybe there will be an answer um, um, to this, not question, an answer to this situation in this book. So he decided to look it up. He opened the book and he found out that this book was actually a grimoire that was full of different rituals, and there he found one ritual that he thought might help him. And there will be more about that in the next song, Test of Will. And I wanted to talk a bit about the title of From the Ashes because it was also um, not coincidental, let's say. Um, um, From the Ashes was called this way for a couple of different reasons. One of them is that he found the book that he has stolen in Enigma in Flames, and he stole it after the house was burned down, like in the process, when the house was burning. So he literally grabbed his solution to the problem from the ashes. Another reason was that this book helped him rise like a phoenix from the ashes, because he was already on the edge of breaking down and obeying to obeying the orders of the Lord Regent, but this book literally saved him from this situation. And the third reason is that before we became Raventhorn, the band was called Loud and Proud, and our second EP, like not second EP, but our second release was called From the Ashes. So this is also a reference to the Loud and Proud era. The book was stolen from the ashes. Yeah, that was one of the reasons for that. Um, From the Ashes actually has a lot of similarities to House of Orchids in the way it was written, because both songs were actually originally written only as an orchestral piece, and we didn't have an intention to write it as a metal song. The metal elements were added only afterwards. And with From the Ashes, we were actually not entirely sure if we were gonna add it in the album, because in the beginning it was just a classical piece inspired by Gustav Mahler, for example. Um, and then we decided to add some vocals, add some guitars in the end, and drums, and that's how it became From the Ashes. So, if you have no questions for this part, let's continue with the test of will. Also, why Raventhorn was the inspiration for this name? Um, that's a good question, because it was more or less random. Like, I'm not saying that that I chose it without a reason. Um, hmm, that's a good question. Um, Before we became Raventhorn, the band was called Loud and Proud, and we were playing thrash metal. And after that, when we started writing Nightmare in Eden, we just realized that Loud and Proud as a name was not fitting anymore to the genre that we were playing in. And Loud and Proud is, I don't know, it's just not such a unique name, let's say. There are a couple of bands that are called the exact same way, so we decided to change it. And then I was thinking for a couple of days about the name of the um, band, and I just thought that Raventhorn would sound nice, and ravens have always been a symbol of the band, so it would be good to mention it in the name. But at the same time, we have an idea about what Raventhorn actually is in the concept of Raven. That's a weird thing to say, but um, as I mentioned before, our concepts are all connected, and we have an idea about what Raventhorn actually is in the universe of our concepts. And I think we will explain it in the next album. The next album will explain a bit more about the origins of Ravencult, what it actually is and what it stands for, and it will also mention what Raventhorn is, not as a band but as an object. You will find it out later. So yeah, I'm really excited to start working on that one. All right, I guess we'll move on to the test of will, and if you got any questions, I'll answer them after the break. So the question from Carl. Any vocal warm-up exercises you do before you record the vocals? Um, I wouldn't call it um, exercises, but it really helps me when I start off with singing with clean vocals a little bit before starting the extreme vocals. I just try hitting several notes, and then it warms up my vocals a little bit. And you should also drink a lot when you're recording vocals. And yeah, that goes. Um, I've actually talked to Debbie about that before, but before Shadows of Lonehill, I haven't practiced harsh vocals as much as now. That's why on Nightmare in Eden, it was kind of less professional, I would say, the extreme vocals, because sometimes it really hurt my voice when I tried to do that. But then when I started recording Shadows of Lonehill, I kind of figured out where the correct spot for that is, like where you could distort your voice without damaging it. And now it's much easier for me to do the harsh vocals, and I almost have no tension in the voice. And I think it's very important to breathe properly. Like um, when I'm doing harsh vocals, um, you shouldn't oversaturate your voice too much. Like you shouldn't distort it too much. Um, I don't know how to explain it properly. Like for me, it comes mostly from the breathing. Um, I don't know how to explain it. Like when I'm doing low guttural vocals, it's very easy to just do this kind of thing and then distort it. And yeah, there are a lot of comments now. I want to practice when I record. Sometimes I'm like that too. Sometimes I'm like that too, but then I regret it. Sometimes I like to do some extreme vocals just when I'm home doing nothing, and then or maybe writing something or reading something, and then I'm just like, gotta do the thing now. And then all the neighbors know that there is this crazy dude from Russia who is screaming all the time. Yeah, I don't know. It just helps me sometimes. Sometimes it's nice just to let it out. But yeah, on Shadows of Lonehill, I started practicing much more than on Nightmare in Eden. And actually, by the end of recording, I found out that it's much simpler for me to do low growls than high-pitched black screams. That's why, especially in Test of Will, you could notice this difference of vocals. In some parts, there is more of a blackish, high-pitched scream, and closer to the end, there is this low voice. Um, because I decided to experiment a bit. Um, Russia, such a surprise. I was seeing that Spotify in German. Uh, yeah, we're both from Russia, from Moscow, but I moved to Leipzig, Germany, and I bought this laptop in Germany. That's why everything is in German. And Stefan is now in Guildford in the UK. I believe it's like 40 minutes from London to the south. They are from Russia, but not in Russia. Yeah, that's the thing. But we moved long ago, even before Nightmare in Eden. Um, we actually started composing Nightmare in Eden already. No, actually, I believe we started composing it in Moscow, but it was only a couple of songs, and then we moved to wherever we moved, and then yeah, that's when Nightmare in Eden was recorded. But I lived in a different city before. I lived in Halle. Yeah. um, let's talk a bit about the story of Test of Will before we move on. So Seth found this book, and one of the rituals was about summoning some sort of spirit that would help him get what he wants, what he really desires. But in exchange, he had to pay something that has a cost equal to what he desires. Um, and the ritual on its own was quite simple. He had to um, inscribe the raven's sigil, as it said in the song, but actually it's the um, this emblem. He had to inscribe the raven's sigil on the ground, and shed his blood in the smoke of a pipe, as it was written. It was kind of a riddle for Seth, but he solved it by using opium and spilling some of his blood, and then he um, went into this kind of mind state that was almost like a trance. He transformed into a raven, and he was flying somewhere in the sky between the clouds, and he didn't see ground at all. He saw nothing, but then in the clouds appeared the house that he lived in. He flew there, and he realized that there was some sort of an evil presence in there. And when he flew and sat on the sill, he found out that there was a corpse in his room. Um, but he didn't know which one. Like, he didn't know who it was. And then he decided to approach it, but the walls started closing in. And then when he was almost lost, when he had nowhere to go, nowhere to fly, let's say, um, his sister opened the door and saved him. He flew towards his sister, and he found himself in a room that was full of light. But then he just woke up in his own room in real life, not in the dream anymore. And his sister was not there. And then he heard the voice of this spirit that he summoned, and the spirit said that by by the first rays of sun, he should get out of his house and get into the carriage that will be standing there. And this is how the spirit will help him find his sister. Россия тоже тут. Приветствую. Yeah, that's about the song. As someone said, it was influenced by Ghost Traverse. I'm not entirely sure about Ghost Traverse, but it was really influenced by Opeth and by. I always have problems with pronunciation on this one, but I think it's called Wild Run or Wildy Run. I'm not sure if they pronounce this E in the middle. Wildy Run or Wild Run? I'm not sure. Some people know about this band. I think Debbie and George know about it. I'm not sure about the other ones, about the others, but yeah, yeah. I'm just not sure how you pronounce it, like Wildrun or Wilderun or Wilderun. I'm not sure. But yeah, it has some influence from there. Some of the riffing was influencing to um, the riffs of Nightmare in Eden from Through the Mirror, I believed. I believe. Believed. Yeah, closer to the end of the song. I'd almost pronounce it like German with a V. I didn't really get it, I'm sorry. um, like German with a V. Like, oh, it's Will de Run. Will de Run. Will de Run, alright. So it's Will de Run, I guess. um, yeah, maybe I should ask them. Not entirely sure. One time they reposted our story to their story. That's an achievement. Will de Run. Alright, Will de Run. I'll remember that for the next time. Opeth also has a song, is it Wilde Flowers then? I always thought it's like Wildflowers, but with an E. But I guess it's Wilde Flowers then. I don't know. That's a good question. Actually, somebody asked a question about Opeth, and I really can't skip it. I think somebody was asking if Opeth is still a thing. Um, yeah, I don't know. I really love Opeth. All of them. Like all of the albums. I'm not a huge fan of Orchid, but everything else, I quite liked it. Even the prog era. Heritage is a bit weird, but there are songs that I absolutely love. Like Folklore is a brilliant song in my opinion. Um, Slither, I believe it's also from Heritage. I really like it. And the other records of prog era, I think they're even better the heritage one. But Encounter Venom was probably the best one of the prog era. Alright, that was... I referenced to a comment that was like half an hour ago, but still. Just remembered about it randomly. Yeah, Wildy Flowers. Alright, I'll remember that. So, let's move to Blackwood. Thanks, guys. I'm really happy that you're enjoying it. um, the question to you: can you guess what it was influenced by? Because it's a weird one. um, all right. Um, it was actually like I wrote the song almost directly after I listened to Periphery for the first time. And honestly, I'm not a huge fan of Periphery, but then I listened to their newest song called Blood Eagle, and I don't know why, but it just kicked so hard, and I just had to write it. And Blackwood was actually influenced by this side of Periphery, combined with something um, by Behemoth maybe, and by Septic Flesh and Rotting Christ. um, so yeah, that's quite an unexpected one. Um, I don't know, it just inspired me for the song after I listened to that one. Um, the moment you said Periphery, I immediately thought of Blood Eagle, always full of surprises. Hills 10. Yeah, I don't know. I have never been a huge fan of Periphery. There are a couple of songs that I really like, but there are also a lot of songs that I really don't like. I'm not a huge fan of the clean vocals, let's say. Blood Eagle is my favorite song by them, I think. Yeah, Blood Eagle also has that Viking theme, so it bridges the gap a bit. Yeah. That's actually like, yeah, that's where those jaunty kind of riffs came from in the beginning and closer to the end. And then there were also several sections that were inspired by Behemoth, especially the drumming in the first quick part, and the melodies closer to the end were mostly inspired by Hellenic metal in the face of Septic Flesh and Rotting Christ. Um, yeah, Blood Eagle also has. I read that. How about Reptile? Honestly, I don't remember a Reptile that well. I have to listen to it again. I, it wasn't this one that was the longest track on the album. I believe I think I liked it. I think I liked it, but I have to listen to it again. I haven't listened to Periphery for a long time now. Have to check it out again. It's the first one, so I mixed it up. Which one was the longest one? So it's the longest one, but the first one. All right, I see. I see. Um, yeah, I think I liked it. I think I liked it. Have to check it out again. I really don't remember it that well. We'll check it out after the stream. Um, yeah. Story-wise, Seth, um, by the first rays of the sun, Seth really went out of his house and he noticed that there was a carriage, as the voice told him, and he got into that carriage, and they actually drove outside of Lonehill. Um, and after long hours of this ride, Seth finally asked the coachman where they were going to, and he replied that it was Blackwood. And first of all, Seth remembered that the cultist mentioned Blackwood when he was at the ball. And after that, he also he didn't really want to go there because Blackwood was such a place that it was a mysterious place, and most of the people knew that there once was a plague that killed most of the inhabitants of this village, and some people believed that it was cursed, but nobody knew that the cult was there. And the rumors were probably spread by the cult itself, so that nobody goes there. And after long hours of this ride, Seth finally arrived to Lonehill and Lonehill's Blackwood, I mean. And you can see how the weather changed in that place. From the rainy and cold Lonehill, it turned into sunny um, Blackwood. Um, as controversial as it might sound. And the village itself was standing on a hill, so he ascended there and he saw that there was a mansion. So he wanted to enter it, but then he met some guards in front of it that wanted to fight him because he didn't recognize him. But then a hooded person approached, and he was some sort of a leader of the cult at that time, and we don't know yet who it is. Um, he approached Seth and he told him that he will help him to save his sister because he had a vision about him, which was most probably given to him by the same spirit that Seth summoned in Test of Will. So yeah, that's the story so far. If you don't mind, before we move on, I would make a quick break, about a couple of minutes, and then come back to you. Um, Very creative. Oh, thank you. I'm really glad you think that way. um, all right, I'll be back in a sec. Stay here. I'll be back soon. Um, there's a shadow in the corner. Oh damn. That was actually Raven Cult. They came to me and said that I should visit some ball in some House of Orchids. I'm not really sure. Not really sure what it should mean, but I guess I'll go there. Yeah, but let's get back there. More like Raven noises. Yeah, those were the ravens flying here. But the ghost in my room, I hope it's not Charlie, if you know what I mean. Charlie is not a friend. Um, so, let's continue. Ouija, are you there? I don't know, that's a good question. Ouija, are you here? I actually have um, I had posters on my walls quite for quite a long time, but the problem is there is something about my walls that doesn't allow my posters to hang. And just a couple of days ago, I just um, glued it in a different way to the wall. And I have a poster of Dance and Love and Mans the Rotten here. So maybe Ouija and Charlie are here. Maybe the ghost is here. Maybe I'm not gonna survive this stream. Who knows? Charlie is the best. Yeah, he's my friend. Charlie versus Charles. Actually, before they released Dance and Laugh Amongst the Rotten, they they announced the track list, and they released Charlie. And then I was thinking about the possible story of the album, and I thought that Charlie would be the same, like Charles Francis Coughlin would be the same person who this Charlie is. Um, but it didn't live up to my expectations. But the story is still good, but it wasn't it didn't go the way I expected it to be. It's really weird that both names are so similar, like Charlie and Charles. I don't think they chose it coincidentally. It's the beginning of Charlie. Yeah, I know. Giving you some more inspirations for the next album. Yeah, the ghost. There's also a poster of Ghost Trevor is here. So I have a lot of ghosts in my room. One of them is Ghost of Perdition, the other one is Charlie. Um, um, what about Frankensteiner's Stratemontanus? I love this album. I really love this album. I wasn't entirely sure about that when they released the Monster as a single because it sounded too Adek inspired, like his solo project, and I thought it's not as Karahangan. I don't know. It was much more straightforward than the music they usually do. But I still love the song. Don't get me wrong. I still loved Monster, but I didn't think it was the best song by Karahangan. And then they released Der Vampir von Nürnberg, and I just loved it from the first seconds of it, and I loved how they mixed the orchestra in, like the violin especially. I believe it was live violin by Nikos Mavridis, I believe. And yeah, I just loved it. I don't know. And when they released the album, it made whole more sense um, why they mixed it this way because I had problems. I had some problems with mixing because I believe someone wrote good album, but I hate mix a lot. Drums awful. Do you mean Frankenstein or Stratomontanus? Because Frankenstein, Stratomontanus. I mean, do you mean Frankensteiner or Dance and Laugh? Because be- um, before I thought that Dance and Love was their best mix ever. Even though a lot of people complained about the guitars, I thought it was the clearest mix they ever had. And I was a bit disappointed when they released the first singles because I thought that the mix was a bit more, I don't know, not as clear as Dance and Love. But then when they released the full album, I kind of understood why they did it this way because with the orchestras that they used, it's much I don't know, much more suitable what they did there. I really liked it, both mix and music and the storytelling, even though it's a bit chaotic in parts, but I still loved it. I think it might be the best Karahangan album by now. It's hard to judge because I love all of their albums, but this one is very different. It's very different. Um, does that make you Charlie of Perdition? I guess it does. I guess it does. Also, there are a lot of coincidences today, but there is also a Nightmare in Eden poster here. Like there is Nightmare in Eden, under that there is Dance and Laugh Amongst the Rotten, and then there is the Ghost Trevor is one. And in Nightmare in Eden we also had a ghost. Damn, I've got the three ghosts in my room. One of them was like in Nightmare in Eden. There was a ghost of a boy named Hector, which was a reference to the story from Where the Corpses Sing Forever from the song Little Hector, What Have You Done? Then another one will be Charlie, and the other one will be Ghost of Perdition. Uh, I'm definitely damned today. Don't you feel the monster has a very big Rammstein vibe? Yeah, it kind of does. It kind of does. It kind of does. It has really like chuggy riffs, and yeah, it really has. I think it has an industrial vibe in general. Um, and it really reminded me of the last album by Adek, which was Parasite Twin. Parasite Twin. Um, yeah, in the beginning I wasn't a huge fan of that, but in the context of the album, Monster is such a big song. I really loved it. Let's hear some more Raventhorn, please. All right. Enough talking. Let's go further with the confrontation. Get ready to vibe.
I've had a vision, he told me. In that vision, I have seen the situation you are in right now. I should have killed you for my man who'll never see his light again. But fate has got another plan. And may I ask what planet is this peculiar life's twist? Why should I trust a man I do not know? Your options, I believe, are scarce from you. I would expect no less than to put the region songs. See, I hate you, misaligned. This bastard's death been on our minds since he decided to frame both of us. Save a sister from the claws of loyal cleavers that have caused to leave her when the righteous
I didn't make it on time to reply to a comment. Damn. um, all right. Ninth thread said, I think I can hear that Korg, right? Yeah, that was the Korg. This one, a lot of you said that the intro was influenced by Opeth, but it was mostly influenced like maybe it's not very obvious, but it was actually mostly influenced by Nick Cave and the Bad Seeds, especially from their album Murder Ballads, and especially the songs like Staggerly or Amelie's Bar, and yeah. um, Phaeton says, thanks for the reply. Да, я сохраню стрим на канале, можно будет потом пересмотреть. Я после каждой песни объяснял сюжет немного. George said, I like when he knocks on the regent's door, how you repeated the four knocks from when the regent knocked on his. Kind of a cool way to show that the balance of power is reversed. Yeah, that's really cool that you noticed that, because that was actually our idea to make it the same. Like in the beginning of in the beginning of the album, the regent had the most power, and now the power was on Seth's side, and it was just a little thing that could show that the story kind of reversed against the regent. So if you have no questions, I will continue talking about the story in this track. All right. So in the beginning, in the intro, we're listening to the dialogue between this hooded person of Raven Cult and Seth. And Seth doesn't trust him straight away because the whole situation is just too weird. He came to this Blackwood. He's never been there before. He didn't know about the cult. And now he was standing in front of their leader, and he didn't know if he could trust him. But then the leader replied to him that they actually had common interests, because the regent framed the regent didn't only frame Seth, he also framed the leader of the cult. As I said, he wanted to begin this struggle between the cult and the regent, and for that he needed that cultist to be killed. And this way he framed Seth, because Seth was the one who killed the cultist, so he was the first person who would get punished for that. And he also framed the leader of the cult. And this way their interests kind of aligned. They wanted to fight the regent, and they decided to go straight in for the kill. They separated in two groups. One of them was completely it was full of the cultists, and it went straight to the place where Lonehill Cleavers resided. They wanted to save Seth's sister, and Seth and a couple of other cultists, they went to the main street of Lonehill, so to say, where Regent had his palace, and Regent didn't expect Seth to come there, and even if he did, he expected Seth to obey and to bow down before him, but not try to kill him, because otherwise, as he said, his sister would be killed. So the guards were not really suspecting him. They just let him through. He went to Regent without any problems. And then, as George mentioned, he knocked 4 times on the Regent's door, entered, and that was the mistake for the Regent, because he let Seth in. Then the Regent asked Seth if he had come to bow down before him, and if he was waiting for his orders. On which Seth replied that no, that wasn't the case. um, of course, Regent was mad, and he decided to call his gods. To which Seth replied that his gods were already in the other realm, the realm of hell, because Seth brought along a couple of cultists who dealt with the gods. In his last attempt to save the situation, the regent tried to grab his gun, but Seth, being a skilled assassin, not like the regent, um, had foreseen this move and he cut off his arm, and then he grabbed Regent from the floor. Regent told him that he should have killed him back then when he had a chance. And then Seth silently threw him out of the window. And that was the end of the Regent. Yeah. And another thing that Seth told Regent before he threw him out of the window was that um, he wasn't afraid of the Regent because his sister is in safe hands now, because cultists executed all the cleavers and she was now free. So yeah, if you have no questions, we can move to the last song. Um, Phaeton says, um, it's good that I had the, I don't know how to translate it. um, he had a feeling that the album resembled Bloodborne and Dishonored, which are both games that Phaeton likes. And that's good that you mention it because Dishonored is actually one of my favorite games of all times. And the inspiration for the setting of the album was actually taken from Dishonored. And Phaeton also writes that our music would fit for the as a soundtrack for those games. And the funny thing is that the composer for Dishonored, rest in peace, Daniel Licht, is actually one of my favorite soundtrack composers, and he was also one of the inspirations for the intro track and The Shade of the Crown. Um, if you have listened attentively, there is a part where dulcimer is used, which is an old string instrument, and Daniel Licht used it quite a lot, or maybe not only dulcimer but also the instrument called I think in English it's called cymbalum or cimbalum, and it's such an instrument that you place on a small table, and you play it with two hammers. And Daniel Licht used it quite a lot, and I love this instrument. That's why I started using it too. But that is Latin, right? The name of the last song. Yeah, that's Latin. And the same phrase was also used in House of Orchids, when the cultist was talking to Seth, and this was the phrase that they used as their goodbyes. And Omne Suna Manet Nox actually means one night awaits us all. So it has several meanings in the album. One of them is obviously death. The other one, as I said, is the goodbyes that the cultists used. So one night awaits us all. It's like if you have seen Game of Thrones, they had this. I don't remember what the phrase was, but they had something like that in there too. It was not the reason why we've chosen this phrase, but it's something in this direction. Um, Phaeton says that he noticed a dulcimer in the beginning. Yeah, well spotted. So, if you have no questions, we can move on to the last song, Omne Suna Manet Nox.
of trust in. You have spared no one. All of these lives taken by you without hesitation. Rather, the difference is slight in my eyes between yours and cleavage, deeds and intentions. And so thy blood by your own hands was spilt. The prophecy is now fulfilled.
So that's the end of Shadows of Lonehill. George says, pretty dark ending, just like I like them. Need to listen to this again and soon. Yeah. Can we get a huge applause in the chat, please? Oh, thanks, guys. I'm really glad that you like the album. I'm really happy, really happy. It's made my day. Story-wise, this is quite a depressing ending, actually. It Seth completed his part of the deal. He healed the region, and he was expecting the Raven Cult to bring his sister to the safe place. And Thanks for the applause, guys. Thank you, guys. I really appreciate it. Um, yeah, so he was expecting to get his sister from the Raven cult. He was excited because he didn't know what was about to happen. So he ran there as fast as he could. And his sister was there, but he realized that he had scars all over her face and he looked like he was beaten by the cult. Um, so without speaking, she just took a cab, and this was very weird for Seth because he expected her to be happy for being saved. And then in the cab, um, she told him about all the atrocities that happened to her by Lonehill cleavers, and she told him that she didn't know about the side of Seth. She didn't know about him being an assassin, and she couldn't take it. She always thought that he was a good person and he was almost an idol for her. And then she found out that he was a murderer, and even like the point of the album was that he had a choice, like he was skilled enough to solve the problem by himself, but instead he decided to follow the path of revenge and kill the regent. Um, Instead of saving his sister himself. So this was another part. Um, so yeah, and she decided to leave him again. And Seth was shocked, and he became very depressed. And after months, um, the pain was still there. He couldn't get rid of it, and he tried to explain himself in the letters. But he just couldn't find the right words for that because he knew that she wouldn't forgive him. And in the end, we hear this voice saying that the prophecy has been fulfilled. Um, it was a reference to this voice from the ritual that said, like, not the voice, but the text of the ritual that said that he had to pay the price equal to the price of what he wants to get. He saved her life, but he had to lose his one. So yeah, um, the ending is open to interpretation as always, but um, that's how it is. So we decided to take a more psychological approach to the ending. Um, I lost a lot of comments. Nice to know you, Nikita. Glad that you're around. Thank you. Thank you for coming. I'm really happy to have you guys. It's really nice to talk to you, and it's really nice that you sat through the stream with me. Nice talk with you guys. A lot of fun. Yeah, I agree. That was a lot of fun. Thank you guys for coming. I'm glad to be with you guys. Glad to have you. From my first listen, I think Watershed is the highlight so far, but I need to listen again. Yeah, let me know what you think after the second listen. Would really like to know. Um, yeah, thanks guys for coming. Another thing about the story that I wanted to mention is that letters are very important in this concept. It might be not that apparent when you first read the story, but um, on every important part of the album there is a letter. Let's see, Enigma in Flames has an invitation, also a letter, and it was a turning point for the story because Seth found out about this cult and he had to investigate it. In Watershed, he got a letter from the Regent saying, like, not Watershed, but already from the Ashes, he got a letter from Regent saying that um, he has stolen his sister. And this was another turning point for Seth because um, it wasn't as personal before that. And the last letter, the final letter, was an Omnes Una Manet Nox, the letter that he tried to write to Irene to apologize for what he has done. And this was the last letter for him. Um, Thanks for putting up with our cheesy comments. I loved answering your comments. You guys are great. It was really nice talking to you. It was a really good stream, I think. Thank you, Nick, for such a great listening party. Thanks for coming, guys. It really wouldn't be the same party if you didn't participate as much as you did. So thank you for that. Um, you did it bravely. um, your comments are great, guys. I really loved answering those. You have great questions, and the meme potential is also great, with lots of cheese in the comments. Next time we should bring a horde of metalheads. You definitely should. I actually thought about making another stream. I think I already told it in one of the posts on Instagram. I thought about making a stream with composing a song live with you. And I think I will do it in the following weeks. I think that would be a nice idea. I still have to figure out how to um, stream the sound from Cubase into YouTube because it has a different source, but I think I might know how it works. So we should do that. um, Seems like you like the idea, so we'll do that. And another stream was planned with the guys from Etheric Existence, which is a band from the USA. They play symphonic extreme metal, and they also have an album coming out soon. I think in January. They haven't announced it yet, but I think it should be somewhere around January. So we thought about making something like a podcast with them, just a conversation. Yes, I just hit the subscribe button. That's great. That's great to know. If someone is not subscribed, you should definitely do so. Would like to see nerdy stuff. I think in that stream you will see some nerdy stuff. There will be a lot of orchestration, a lot of playing around with the riffs. So we have to schedule it. Um, if you want, we can listen to the bonus track, which is Virtues of the Beast. I had to make it separate from the album because our distributor makes us pay for every cover we upload. But the thing is, even if you upload the same cover twice, it takes twice as much money. Like if we upload Virtues of the Beast again, it will we'll have to pay twice for the same track. So we decided to leave the album as an album, and the bonus track will be separate here. Um, and that Jackson in action. Yeah, still have to change the strings after recording Shadows of Lonehill, but I think I'll do that by that time, and you'll see Jackson in action. By the way, on Bandcamp, Virtues of the Beast is also there. You don't have to buy it separately in case you want to um, buy it because it's a hidden track on Shadows of Lonehill. So when you're buying Shadows of Lonehill as an album, you also get Virtues of the Beast. It's just not in the track list. You're just getting it separately as a bonus track. I'm so tired of the greedy asses. Yeah, same here. Like, it's just so weird. Like, the thing why we have to pay for Virtues of the Beast is because it's cover, and we have to pay for, um, how's it called? Like for the copyright thing, like for the license, for the license. We have to pay for the license, but the thing I don't understand is why we have to pay for the license twice if we upload it twice. Like, it doesn't make sense to me, but makes sense to them. Bandcamp Friday is coming up, just so you know. Yeah, Bandcamp Friday is next Friday. It means that Bandcamp will waive their revenue share, and everything will go straight to the band. So if you would like to support us, you could do it next Friday. Would really appreciate it. Yeah. Oh, by the way, confrontation is marked as explicit, and it's a weird one. Like, originally, I didn't want any of the songs to be marked as explicit. Just I don't know, just didn't want it. So I sent it out. Mm, and then I get a message from DistroKid that the lyrics for Confrontation are not approved. And then I thought that the only reason they might have done it was because we had the word bastard in it. So I decided to mark it as explicit, and now it works. They approved the lyrics. But all of the other tracks where we have explicit scenes of murder, of opium usage, of something else, they didn't need it to be explicit. But the word bastard, I guess it's so rude that they just couldn't handle it. I found Raven's Phone on YouTube by Septic Flash Cover. Oh, that's great to know. That's great to know. Have you actually watched the video first or the streaming bit? Bastard is explicit with. I don't know either. Like, to me, it's the most mild swearing that you could have ever came up with, but I guess DistroKid and iTunes and all the other guys think that it's explicit enough. But not the murder. Murder is just fine. So yeah. We have to be politically correct now. Yes. Confrontation just can't work in the modern life. So yeah, I think let me know if you want to listen to Virtues of the Beast one more time. If you don't, I think I would end the stream now because still have to do some stuff. Still have to update our infos on Spotify. Yeah. Answer the comments. Reply to the stories. But if you would like to hear Virtues of the Beast one more time, let me know, and I'll turn it on. We'll listen to it on our own. Go do a thing. Up to you, Maestro. Blast that shit. Alright, let's go for it. I enjoy your company, so let's go for it. Such a delightful evening. Yeah, I agree, I really liked it. It was really a nice experience. See you around, Nick. Oh, you're already leaving. In this case, it was nice having you here today. Thanks for coming. That was really nice. Oh, thanks for coming today. It was nice having you here. Yeah. Have a good evening. It was nice speaking to you. That's right. Okay, that's actually a like the road one. It's Debbie says when will set the question of the already. The fun thing is that Stefan and I thought that in the pandemic everybody was English at home, so we decided to write a message to Christos from Septic Flash. We sent him the cover, said that Septic Flash really flashes out a lot, and he actually replied. He actually listened to the cover. He liked it. Yeah, I think we should have sent it to um, uh, Kling, Karin Lechner, but he wasn't around when they made Virtues of the Beast, and we decided not to do that. One last question. Thoughts on the film? The thing is, I know that they're very popular, like one of the most popular bands in Russia, but I never really listened to them. I think I've heard one or two songs from them, but never listened to them like full album or something like that. I think I have to I have to take a listen. I think. Okay, that's awesome. Yeah, that was really surprising that he actually replied, that he actually took time to listen to the cover. I was really glad to hear that from him. Should have also sent it to Seth, because Seth in the concert said in real life, and actually looked it up on Wikipedia afterwards, and Virtues of the Beast was actually composed by Seth, but not by Christos. So I think it's time to text Seth. Yeah, we definitely should. Maybe I will soon. Oh damn. Spotify decided to turn on Anubis straight away after Virtues of the Beast. Actually, yesterday when I was preparing the release, I was listening to a lot of Septic Flash, and when I was recording this short trailer for the album, I was also listening to Septic Flash, and it was just so inspirational. I don't know, I just had so much energy afterwards, and also a lot of Hans Zimmer. Check out Hans Zimmer's live album called World of Hans Zimmer. The orchestrations there are incredible. I've seen this one of the shows of this live tour in Berlin last year, but they also have a recording from Prague, I believe. And this is this album. Check it out if you haven't yet. It's just incredible. The emotions of the orchestrations. Congrats on the stream. Great work on the album and on the party. Really enjoyed it. Thank you, George. Really appreciate it. And I'm really glad that you all liked the album so much. Maybe really makes me really happy. It means that the work was not in vain. So yeah, guys, I think I will end the stream here. Thanks to all of you for coming and for sitting through the stream with me. That was really nice. I really enjoyed it a lot, and I think we should do more streams in the future. The stream with the live composing of a Raventhorn song, maybe some soundtracks, the stream with Etheric Existence, and I think I will make a lot more streams on our Instagram page, so definitely check those out too. And I promised you to send the link for Bandcamp. That's me. That's me on the screen. um, Here's the link. More streams, please. Will do, sir. Thanks for coming, and see you soon. Thank you, Nick. That was a pleasure. Looking forward to the next streams. It was nice having you here. Thanks for coming, guys. Love you all. Thanks for the stream. You're the best. And on this note, I think I will end the stream. So, thank you. Goodbye. Have a good night.